Yeah. Go here for drawing.
That's fine.
That way I'd be close to the mic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
Under control?
Yeah, let's say that.
You know what's going on?
Not a clue. But that never stopped me before now, did it?
No. Your hair looks good.
Thank you. About time for a haircut, isn't it?
For you or for me?
Yes, me.
Okay.
Did you get a spoon?
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready, Mike?
I am ready.
Delete track. I have to hit record on that track. There we go. Now everything's up and running. There we go. All right.
Now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright, and so on. It's a rigorous training dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the #1 podcast to create sound of horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF1 accreditation. On this week's show, X-rays. We got a whole bunch of different X-rays we're going to look at, so if you're part of the YouTube channel, make sure you go over there right now. And you can see all these X-rays, and some are coming straight from Poland. And not from Poland, over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How you doing there?
I'm doing all right. So, hold on one second. Let me switch screens here so everyone can see us. And don't forget, if you have a question for Mike Stine at any time, go over to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says Contacts Us. Fill out that little form, and we'll send you out a prize pack as well. And like I said, make sure you join us on YouTube for every podcast we do. We have a matching video, and we have a bunch of X-rays we're going to look at this week, a bunch of different cases that Mike has been dealing with for the past couple months or so, and now he's wrapped it all up, pretty much wrapped them all up, and now we're going to talk about the outcome of what happened over there. Now, speaking of wrapping things up, I, the other day, went on a ride with my wife.
A ride with your wife?
Yes, I went on a ride. We got in the truck, and she drove me to where she has her lessons. That's the ride I went on. And
You're seeing where your money goes.
I watched her where she rides, and I saw her at her new arena that she's been riding at with Brett Ingram. Mm-hmm. And so I was over there, and Diego was over there.
Right.
And Mike, you've worked on Diego. You said a couple weeks back you saw Diego. You put high heels on him. Why does Diego have high heels on?
Not really.
He's walking around with high heels. He's got like stilettos on.
You know, from the external landmarks, he is really low PA in the back end, bomber angle.
Right.
And almost broken backwards. And what I did was what they call a graduated hind shoe. I forged it out the toe to make it wider and really bring the brake over further back up under it. And
this is on the rear of the horse.
On the rear of the horse, a little bit of a rocker belly to allow it to roll his body weight to push his angles up.
You know what's funny, because Diego at this property, I think it's like a 30 some odd acre property.
Right.
He was in the back pasture, so we had to walk up to the pasture, get Diego, and then walk down this gravel driveway to the barn to tack him up and stuff. And as he's walking, and this, you've said this a million times, you got to listen to your horse. You have to make sure you checking out your horse every day, looking over, doing like a pre-trip inspection. So my wife's walking, she walks in front of me, and I walk behind. I don't get too close to them, and I give them a wide berth, both of them, so they can have the whole.
Scared of both of them. Huh?
I'm scared of both of them. And she stops, and she looks back, and she's like, "What is wrong with you, Diego?" And she walks a little bit more, and she's listening. She can hear that his hind legs are not doing the same pattern that he was before.
Right.
Because he's getting used to those shoes. So she picked up on it like that. We barely got 100 feet, and she's like going, "What is wrong?" And then by the time we got to the barn, she looked, she's like, "Oh, there's a rocker on there. There's a wedge."
It'll sound different because of the movement pattern. And, he's a little weak in the stifles, and we're working on building, getting a little bit of flexion in the stifles and building a little strength back there, which has been something we've been talking all along. He's getting better, but with him wanting to go at the end of the shoeing period to more of a negative plane, it straightens the stifles out, and then you're starting to lose flexion.
Well, I guess the reason why I brought it up is because here I am thinking my wife's just out there, riding around in a circle on a horse and throwing daisies out the left side. And
I've seen her. She does throw daisies.
like she's riding around in a parade.
And she does the...
Yep,
yeah,
turning unscrewing light bulbs. And, but she physically, I mean, to her credit, she was listening to the horse. She's like, hey, there's something wrong with Diego. Or not something wrong, something's different. And she picked up on it within, like I said, once we got on that gravel walkway down.
Got on the hard surface.
She heard it right away. And she's like, oh, I have to ask Mike what he did there so I can, adapt my training for it. So I just thought that was interesting that she picked up on it right away. And me, I'm like, I have no idea. It just sounds the same to me. And so I'm out there watching her ride and doing her thing. And Brett's doing her training. She's getting ready to take one of her lesson tests or something. So she's getting that all set up and ready to go, whatever lesson test that she's taking.
Right.
And when she was all done and everything, I'm sitting in the chair and just watching her. And, it's beautiful to watch this majestic animal walk around and trot around and canter around. And when she was all done, she's like, see how much better he's gotten, babe? And I go, the only thing I saw, babe, is
he was going around in
circles. And I said, the only thing that sticks out in my mind is when you do your lead change, or not your lead change, when you transition up or transition down, he bunny hopped once or twice. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't look right. And I'm not a professional. That doesn't look right. She's like, yeah, that's my fault. I did it on the wrong rhythm or whatever. So that's what she had.
Right.
So I went for a ride to watch my wife ride.
Well, it's funny because you're talking about the transitions. The biggest thing I look at if people start rattling off their dressage scores, the one thing I want to know is your downward transitions, because that is, for my job, going to tell me the most about what's going on.
Really?
Yeah. Is that instant, like breaking from a canter to a trot? Or are they going through that clean, or are they falling apart?
Well, she said for the most part he was excellent, except for, she said, like I pointed out, he had like one little bunny hop. I don't know if it was going up, transition up or down, and I didn't know that term until that day. So she's like
a bunny.
No, she said about the transition up and transition down. I go, babe, I don't know what that means. What does it mean? She's like, when you go from a walk to a canter and canter to a trot and a trot back to a canter. And I go, I'm still lost. I have no idea what those mean.
Changing the gates.
All right, changing the gates. Well,
not the kind you walk through.
I was just going to say, we're out there fixing our fence. I had to change.
You were changing the gate there, weren't you?
Changing the gate out there. I sure was.
I brought your jar back.
Now, Mike, you brought me a jar back, but it's still full. I thought you liked my hot sauce.
I did. I ate your hot sauce.
So what is this? Oh, my God. It looks like Mississippi mud in here.
It does, doesn't it?
Now, Mike, if for you guys that don't know, I made a homemade hot sauce for Mike. I made two different kinds. I made a jalapeno one and a habanero one, or a poblano hot pepper sauce for him.
Right.
And I put them in these little mason jars. And you can see this on the video here. And so Mike, he's seeking revenge and made his own sauce.
I was given stuff from a client's garden.
One of our listeners?
One of our listeners, yes. And I went home, and some of the stuff we immediately ate. I did not load the jar.
This is chunky, Mike.
It is chunky.
Now, I got a whole show to do here. Is this going to kill me?
I'd be a little careful with it.
All right. So now what kind of peppers are in here? So I'm going to try Mike's homemade hot sauce here.
Here's the deal. Have at it.
All right. I'm going to get real close to the camera here so everyone can see me. So there it is. There it is on the... it looks like peanut butter. All right, there you go.
I don't think it's got peanut butter in it.
I'm tasting it.
Yeah. You can use it to get rid of the cockroaches if you want to.
Get a little bit more on my tongue. So you made this?
Yes.
A little bit more salt.
A little bit more salt.
And a little bit more vinegar.
And a little bit. I didn't put any vinegar in there. That's maybe why it needs a little bit more vinegar.
Hot sauce always needs vinegar.
Yeah.
That's a good blend, though. I don't know what kind of peppers are in there.
I don't either.
But I would put a little bit more vinegar in it and chunk it up a little bit more.
I was given some peppers. There were 2 jalapenos. I know that. There were a couple of kind of long, light green peppers that at first I thought were banana peppers. And the more I looked at them, I thought they were not banana peppers. And then one of them that was kind of a reddish brown and kind of, I don't know, but it was like a new picked pepper. I don't know what that was.
Just cram it in there and fire it up.
And there's some onion and garlic and ginger and
Oh, you did put onion? Did you put all that in it?
I put a whole onion in there, yes.
So the only thing that it's missing is the vinegar part, and that's one of the key ingredients is vinegar for hot sauce. And other than that, that's a winner. I mean, that's a good spread if you want to put it on your bagel in the morning.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, the couple of peppers, I'm not sure what they were, and I figured I'd feed them to you, and if you didn't like it, you could use it to kill cockroaches. I don't know.
No, that's a good blend right there. I really do like that. Thank you very much.
I couldn't reproduce it because I just put stuff in there and turned the thing on.
I am going to add a little bit of vinegar to it, probably a tablespoon of vinegar to that, and let it sit and marinate and break all those down a little bit.
I think some marinating would be very good for it.
All right, guys, well, stick around. We're going to marinate during this break, and make sure you follow us over on Facebook. Mike's got a brand new Facebook page out there. I sent you the logo, so you don't have the actual logo of the.
Right.
That should be up on your Facebook.
Not yet.
Not yet, but I know I sent it to you. So make sure you go over there and like and subscribe over to Mike Stine over on Facebook as well. Just search Equine Dynamics, and also on YouTube as well. Big show to get into, guys. Lots to talk about and lots to look at. So make sure you're following us on YouTube as well. Stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Yeah, that's good. That is a good blend. I thought it was going to be stupid hot, but yeah, it needs the vinegar. The vinegar breaks down the.
Right. I did not put any vinegar in there.
That's not bad. A whole onion?
A whole onion.
Did you use minced garlic or clove garlic?
Minced. I was going to use clove, but she said use minced. So I used the minced. There's some cinnamon in there.
Do you have cinnamon in there?
Yeah, and the way I did the cinnamon was just like that.
That's good.
So I don't know the measurement of any of it.
That's interesting that
there is some mustard in there.
That's interesting that you put the cinnamon in there because when you do a hot sauce, you had a little bit of sugar to take the acidity out. So if you put cinnamon there, maybe the cinnamon takes out some of the acidity.
Right. I did not put any sugar in there at all.
You just winged it.
I just winged it.
You didn't search for it on YouTube or anything?
No, not a bit.
All right.
I just found the ninja. It got ninja'd.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Like I said, make sure you follow us over on YouTube. Now it'll be a great chance to follow us because we got a lot of x-rays that we're going to get into that Mike's been working with and dealing with for the past couple months or so. And make sure you follow him on Facebook as well. And if you have a question for Mike Stine, go over to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page, hit contact. Ask him a question, and we'll send you out a prize pack as well. And over on my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you doing?
Doing all right. So we're going to talk now about Mr. Freeze. Now, tell us what happened, how you got involved with Mr. Freeze.
It was a cool day.
As we're all begging for right now this time of year.
At about 98, 99 degrees, and the humidity was about the same. And now this is one of the vet clinics I work with had gone out on, and they had taken some pictures, and they asked me to get involved in it. The owner called me, and I got involved in it. And Mr. Freeze was a new purchase to this lady who has the horse. He'd come out of Florida. Apparently, he had been somewhere in South Carolina for a while, and the shoe job on it was probably a couple months old at the time. So he did have some white line, and we could see that on the x-rays. You know.
Are you ready for the x-rays?
Sure.
All right.
Let's do the x-rays.
So here we go. Here's some of the x-rays that we got. Oh, that's Mike's pen.
That's touched x-ray.
There we go. Here's an x-ray. So what are we looking at here, Mike?
That is an x-ray.
Oh, wait. We need to go back to the first one. So this is the first x-ray that you got.
Right.
All right. So what are we looking at here?
We are looking at a few things. If you look at the foot, and you notice where the shoe is set, if you kind of find the center of the joint, the coffin joint, down, or anyway,
yeah, okay,
kind of there, but basically drop your line down. That shoe is set way out front. It's kind of up under the heels. The heels are kind of hanging off the back door, out the back door, right?
Right.
Okay. When you come to the front, you can see. On that one, you can start to see where the wall and the lamini separate. So see that line right in there?
Yes.
Okay. And if you notice at the bottom, there's some separation.
Looks like a crack or a split or something.
A crack or a split or a something, and that's where you're getting your white line fungus. So then we got to And if you look at the tip of his coffin bone, that's not quite pristine.
It looks like it's got a little pitch up to it.
A little pitch up to it. It's been abused at some point. So
What was Mr. Freeze's job? I always ask that because I want to know what kind of conditions the horse was going through to get to this position.
I think that he likes eating and that sort of thing.
He's not a workhorse or anything like that?
I think that the idea is for him to do some trail riding and some light dressage and that sort of deal.
Okay.
Probably a little Western dressage.
This looks like, looking at the x-ray here, you're talking about the heel coming off that shoe.
Right.
It looks like sometimes you see women that will wear flip-flops and they're too small and their heels hang off the back.
That's kind of the deal, yeah.
Yeah, this is what this looks like.
And, there's enough definition in this x-ray that you can kind of see almost up top where the coronary band is probably. Mm-hmm. If you look at like the front of the foot. Mm-hmm. And then you can see a little bit of probably a weather line in there. And so you want to see all the detail you can. I get x-rays where you cannot see any detail in the x-rays, and it's given to me as a diagnostic x-ray, and we'll get into that in a minute. But that we can go to the next x-ray on him.
So you consider this a good shot x-ray?
There, in a perfect world, this is not a bad x-ray.
Okay.
I've done much worse. You can kind of see the weather lines in the hoof, and there are some where you cannot get any detail. I've had x-rays sent to me that were basically a blob. Rorschach's ink block test.
Right.
And or they're good enough for the art gallery. That's a better one. They're good enough for the art gallery abstract, right?
Right.
And but the more detail you can see, the more you can have an idea what's going on. Now, if you look at the clenches on him, you notice on the left side, it kind of looks like that clench is hanging out in the air a bit.
Yes.
When it may have been out a little bit, but when you x-ray on the thinnest edge of the hoof, you get some burnout. So that may not have been all the way out of the hoof, like it appears right there. They were not new clenches by any means. Okay, we can go to the next one. Okay, this would be the worst foot. And if you see you can see the white line fungus, and you can see it opening up, and you can see a little separation going up that wall fairly high up. And, the nails are blocking out the tip of that coffin bone a little bit. And check what you can get a pretty good idea what the sole depth is. And if you notice the shoe's not quite 100% flat, neither is the coffin bone. They're probably shooting in the middle, and we'll explain that one in a minute. But you can tell where your clenches come out, and you can have to see the depth of the coffin bone between there and the ground. So we got a little bit of real estate between him and the ground. So we end up, we can go to the next one. Okay, there's front to back. You can do some obliques. You can do some other angles. And, some of that damage was off center that you were seeing. That's part of why it looked like it went so far back into the hoof, because it was not like dead center of the hoof. That's why you do multiple angles on these.
So in my opinion, Mike, and for what it's worth, these look like really, really good x-rays. I can see the shape of the hoof. I can see, the skeletal structure underneath. As far as exactly what I'm looking at, you talk about burnout, like on these clinches on the side. I wouldn't know what I'm looking at there, and that's where your professional trained eye comes in to play. As to just handing this, I would look at it, and I would do exactly what you said, put it on the wall and go, that is artwork. But these, in my opinion, are really, really detailed x-rays.
The coffin bone is tipped to one side a little bit.
Yes, I see. And is that because of the way the horse stands, or is that? There's so many variables.
There are a lot of variables. I don't know. The person who shot this is pretty good about having them standing even on both blocks when you shoot. If you have a horse with 1 foot on a block and 1 foot off, it can skew it. If you got a horse that's leaning one side to the other, it can skew that. Because of the weight pushing on one side or more than the other.
Now, I've had an MRI done. Now, I know MRIs are not exactly the same thing, but it gives you a 3D picture of what's going on. And they tell you time and time again, when you're in there, do not move. Do not move. Even when you take x-rays, like even if you're...
Sometimes we get movies on an x-ray where they're moving, and you can see they're moving.
Yeah, exactly. But even when you go to the dentist and you get x-rays, they say, don't move. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to move. You can't tell a horse not to move. The horse's natural instinct is, if it's uncomfortable, to move from that position. So I would think that getting x-rays from a horse, outside of sedating it to where it doesn't want to,
well, there you go. If they need to do that, the vet can slow their movement down.
So that is somewhat of a common practice to do that.
Depends on the horse they're working on. If it's a really quiet horse, sometimes you can ease in there, get x-rays. If you've got a horse that's really sore-footed and in pain, maybe you have to, because, they don't want to stand still. If you got a horse that's a little fractious and acts like you, we really got to hit it hard to get it to stand still and act like something.
Head with a hammer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Settle down.
A big one.
So tell us the actual outcome of why we took these x-rays for Mr. Freeze. What did you do, and what is the outcome of that?
Mr. Freeze walked off happy when we were done.
Okay.
What we did was go in there and took the shoes off, prepped the foot. I took a tool and tunneled out any dead debris.
Is this Mr. Freeze's foot right here?
This is.
Okay. So this is what we actually started. We probably should have started with this one. So here you go. This is what Mike was dealing with these x-rays.
Right. So that was all decayed and
hold on.
I see how you are.
There we go. Now we can.
That was all a rotten, decayed area, and it goes back in around pretty much straight over that first nail, but it's not very far up in there. Mm-hmm. And so what we had done is, he was a little sore-footed, so we put a leather in there to give him a little cushion between the shoe and the hoof, and underneath the shoe, around the white line, around the frog, I've got an antibiotic cream that's got a little copper sulfate in there that I smeared in those areas. I scraped out and checked and probed. And so the worst infected part, you can see that wide channel up in there. And we may find we're going to have more channel on the way up, but then you got to decide, okay, how much of the foot do we take apart? And if you're taking apart too much, are we destabilizing the foot? Now, if you notice on that shoe, I am running clips on it, and we're using the quarter clips to add some stability back.
Not on this shoe here.
Yes, on that shoe.
Oh, on this shoe here. Okay.
On the edge over there, below the nails, on either side.
I see it right there. Yep.
There's a clip right there where your hand is, and that's the edge of the leather pad back there. So, we've given him some comfort. He's got some sole depth under him. We've backed the shoe up. We've backed the breakover up under his foot, because we're shoeing for the bone column is, not where the foot has run off to. Correct?
Correct.
And then we've taken everything out, and we've medicated the area on both feet, and she's got a soak that all you have to do is, since that front's open, I use some combi roll because I carry it with me. You can use gauze cotton pad, soak it, put it in there, and put your wrap around the foot and treat the area. And there's a few different types of treatments out there that are being used, and clean it up and grow it out and give him a chance to be a happy boy and do what he wants to do.
Now, if you were to come up on Mr. Freeze with that first picture or the last picture that we showed, where you've actually cleaned it out or cut it out and stuff, could you get away with, and I don't want to say get away, because you want to do everything to your potential as far as getting everything done. Could you have gone and not had x-rays done and figured out just from that picture that we were showing there? I'll go back to that picture here. From this picture right here, could you figure out how to make that, or it's absolutely very important that you would have had the x-rays?
Well, I'll tell you, there are plenty of them that I have probed, but if you look at the x-ray of that foot, and I'll
go back to it here.
Let's go back to that worst one. Back.
That one.
There you go.
All right.
Okay. You see where the biggest part of the track is that I've opened.
Yes.
Okay. Up above there has been some mechanical stress or something going on above where I've got that opened up to. You see that line that goes all the way up in there? Mm-hmm. With some of the things we're using, like white lightning, it gasses that, and you get it up in the foot deeper than just a topical. So I'm going to have to keep probing that foot, and I know there's something I'm going to need to hunt for. And
the only way to get that is to take x-rays.
Take x-rays. Yeah, I can't, if it feels solid at that point, which it pretty well felt solid up to where the gap starts closing down. And then what's above there with my probe, it's like this still feels like solid foot. But if you look at the x-rays, I'm expecting something to open up there as this comes down. And hopefully what we're doing will take care of that so it doesn't become a big problem. And if it does, we'll do what we have to do.
So from the time they call you, you see Mr. Freeze's foot.
Right.
And then how long before then do they take x-rays?
The vet was called on this one. They took x-rays. I got contacted.
Okay, so the x-rays were taken.
This was not one of my clients. This was one sent directly from the vet clinic.
Okay.
And which they do. I mean, I've got a couple of those this week.
Has there been an incident where you've gone out and you're looking at a horse's foot and something like that shows up and you're like, okay, can I see the x-rays? And the owner or trainer goes, well, we don't have
them. Why do you want x-rays? Can't you just,
Right. Have you had that happen before?
Oh, sure. Plenty of times.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, how, without the x-rays, how much do you know outside of probing that foot, how to treat it?
Well, at that point, you do the best you can, and you try to encourage them to get some x-rays so you can make sure you're seeing what you're seeing.
What if you've got someone that just says, absolutely not, I don't want to spend the money on x-rays, just, take a suture and stitch that crack up?
Well, you get those.
Okay.
And,
I just want to make sure that those people are out there too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like last week I got bombarded with calls on old chronic laminitic horses that I've never seen before. And, have you had any workups on the horse, anything like that? We got x-rays from 5 years ago. Can't you just look at them?
Sure.
I can see what it looked like 5 years ago.
And I'll treat what was 5 years ago.
And I don't want to go in blind on those because you'll find, and I've done it too many times over the years, you go in to take care of a situation, and some of these horses that have a lot of damage, what you're seeing on the exterior part of the foot does not always match what's going on the inside, and you get yourself in a lot of trouble doing that because, oops, I thought he had something there.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, Mike got into a little bit of more trouble with another little horse called Little Bit, and we'll dive into those x-rays as well. Stick around. You'll listen to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back.
You're going to switch to this camera, right?
We're on it.
We're on it. Okay.
All right, well, you ready?
Yes.
Oops, wrong button. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget to follow him on YouTube. He's got a bunch of different videos up there, and for every podcast we do, we have a matching video as well. You can see me waving to Mike, Mike waving to me, and we have a lot of visual elements here in the studio, and you can see these in real time as we're talking about it here. Mike's doing the slow hand wave, the princess wave. And also, Mike has got he's got a horseshoe here, he's got a coffin bone, and he's got a little sketch pad. So if you want to see, and Mike's got some crayons. So if you want to see Mike Stine,
see my doodling,
see some doodling, he's going to draw a portrait of me, it looks like. You can see this over on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe over there. So, Mike, tell us what we're going to be doing and why you've got this big old pad of paper out here that you're going to be drawing on.
Okay. The reason that we're going to do this is I just want people to understand a little bit about, as a farrier, some of what we need in an x-ray to be able to tell what's going on. Because the x-ray, you're shooting against a plate. You get magnification between the foot and the plate. If the plate's back here, you get a lot of magnification. If the plate's foot is up close, you get less magnification. If you got a big foot, it's going to be different from a little foot. So if you're using an indicator marker that you have a known size, you can, so if you got something that's, let's say 50 millimeters, and by the time it's set in the middle of the foot and it gets to the plate, if the plate's back here, it could be 65, or it could be 55 as far as what you're getting on the plate. And then you've got and you can put a number to it as far as how much magnification you're getting, because the areas look larger than what is going on. One of the other things is, if you notice, a lot of these were not marked with paste. And I got a little picture here. This is some of Doc Redden's book. But if you can see, that paste looks like it's riding out off the front of the foot. It's actually direct contact, right?
Right.
Okay, if you got any nicks, you got any weather lines, anything like that, the paste will follow that. And when you're measuring the actual, depth, how much wall you have there, that wall, as it comes around, it's like to the front of the edge of the shoe. You've got thickness, thinner, and this little part out front is real thin. So that's what I was talking about. It burns out. Okay, so if it's not marked, you have a hard time saying, is that the exact depth? You need to know what your percentage of magnification was. You need to know that distance. There are some really nice computer programs that will figure that out. The other thing is, okay, that beam that comes out right center, say, let's say a quarter 50-cent piece is your most accurate area. You've shot a shotgun.
Yes, I have.
It goes boom, right?
It goes boom real loud.
Right. And if you have a steel object and then a paper target behind there, the shot is spreading, right?
Correct.
So you would get an image on that target of what was stopped by the steel plate, right?
Sure.
Okay, and that's the lighter part of the X-ray. If you got a piece of steel, it's going to show up white, basically. If you've got an area in there that is very black in the X-ray, well, that's where something's not stopping the X-rays from coming through. If you've got an X-ray that is your shoe is flat this way, you should get one image. If it's if your beam's coming in this way or this way, you're going to get this kind of image or this kind of image. It needs to be straight on, and it needs to be a level. If you got the X-ray unit drop down low or up high, you're going to have a tweaked image. So there was some X-rays sent to me the other week. They're supposed to be diagnostic X-rays where basically it looked like, I'm going to say the coffin bone this way, because as it spreads out, it hits the front edge of the coffin bone first and carries that higher onto your plate. So it looks like this, but when you shot from the front, it looked here. In fact, it looked this way. So with it in this kind of an angle, the beam has to be really low, and this is carrying up because from the side, the coffin bone was not tipped up. The other thing was I couldn't really see where the coronary band was, and I could not see where the outside of the wall was. And to get a definition line of where your lamina looks like, I don't know if it's the distance the unit was set from the X-ray, because that makes a difference. In, out, power, and what you're doing is you're setting the distance from the plate. But if you're further back or further up, that will alter what that X-ray looks like. If it's cocked one way or another, up, down, sideways, whatever, that's going to distort the image.
Now, when the person takes the X-ray, is it just one shot, or do they do like wedding photographers and take like 15 shots of one? I'm going to move it here, 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 and then you've got to physically go through it like you're some kind of agent, modeling agent. You're like, oh nope, that one's no good, that one's no good. Oh, this one's the good one. This one's the good one.
Okay, when we were shooting film, you got one shot.
Okay,
and you had to go to the developer. And when I was working up, let's say Doc Redden's clinic, when I was up there, we could shoot X-rays, and we had a developer in the back of the room. When I was working at Dr. Mansman's and we were shooting film, you had to take the film somewhere else, get it developed, and bring it back. So we would shoot a bunch of plates, and he would take off to the developer to come back. And so a few hours later, we got to look at what was going on.
Geez, what a process.
Right. So with these new digital rigs, the rigs are not cheap, but you have your computer set up, you've got your plate, you've got your generator, you shoot. It's like the old Instamatic camera in just a few seconds. Here we go. And then we can look at it and start deciding whether it's a good X-ray or not.
Now, in your opinion, you go, basically your film is your analog.
Right.
And your digital thing, of course, is digital. In your opinion, which X-rays are better? In your opinion, is it the analog ones because they're more true to the actual picture, or the digital one because it has to take all these little micro things and then the computer can't figure out something, so it fills it in with something else?
Well, it depends on the unit you have, because some of the digital ones, especially the older ones, were real grainy, and like Dr. Mansman, Dr. Redden would not go to the digitals at one time because they were grainy, they were not clear, and you had better definition on film. And it's like Dr. Redden said, they had to prove to him you could get that, but now he likes the vet ray units, and you can get some beautiful pictures with them if you got everything set up right.
So no one really uses film anymore?
No. I mean, it's like I asked somebody not too long ago about, I had a digital camera, and asked them if the temperature was going to affect the film on it, and they were studying on it for a while.
They didn't know.
I didn't mean to do it to be aggravating.
Right.
But, and then it's like just looking at the dorsal wall. If this is the dorsal wall of a hoof capsule, up top is going to be truest to your coffin bone. Coffin bone is going to be in here somewhere. That's not a real good coffin bone, but we'll pretend, right?
Yeah, Mike's drawing here on his pad, so make sure you follow him over or watch us over on YouTube. You can see Mike drawing over here. So here he goes. He's drawing.
So then if my lamina area is, say like this, right?
Okay.
We've got stretched out laminar damage. Okay, and when it's important to be able to see that zone, because somebody can come in here and dress hard with a rasp and thin this way down and make the external appearance look not so bad. Does that make sense?
Yes, because it looks like it's parallel with the coffin
Right.
bone.
And with finishing feet, you do get some of that. On the other end, you can have, on our white line horse, you had the wall that goes out. You've got your lamina zone that runs straighter, but then you've got all this damage in here. Okay, is the distortion in the wall, or is it in the white line? And that's why when you get X-rays, if you can see this, then you can start measuring. The other thing is with the paste out here, you can see it, and you can see divots in the coffin ball or in the wall, and also with the paste, you can see for sure where your coronary band is.
If the paste is so helpful, how come everyone doesn't use it? I would think I would use it all the time. I would coat the hoof down because, like you said, you get a little washout sometimes. Why wouldn't you just sit there and paint the whole entire hoof? Hey, here's the paste. Shoot the X-ray. I know exactly, absolute zero as far as where the hoof starts and stops.
Well, the problem is it's messy, and you got to shoot your laterals last, or clean it all off, because when you shoot your DPs from front to back.
But aren't they worth it?
To me, it is, yes.
Isn't it worth it to do? Oh, it's messy. I don't want to put this on there. It's like my car got broken into. I'm like, okay, to the cop. I'm like, are you going to dust for fingerprints? He's like, it's going to make a mess of your car. I'm like going, yeah, but we're trying to figure out, the problem here. What happened?
Right. And I've got boreum paste at home in my refrigerator at the house.
Don't get it confused with the hot sauce. Don't put it next to the hot sauce jar.
Well, then you can get X-rays, see how the hot sauce is going through the system if you mix them.
Exactly.
But there are situations where clearly I need to know what these distances are, and you need to be able to see it, and you need to have some good ideas what's really going on there.
Page 2. Sign that for me, Mike, because we'll put it up on for auction.
How's that?
That's good.
Looks like a real artist was signed like that, right?
If you'd like to support the Mike Stine podcast, we'll put this picture up for auction.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Here's some of what I need to know.
Okay, what are we looking at here?
This is an X-ray, one of those nice new digital X-rays. Mm-hmm. And the thing with these digital units, especially the newer ones, you can click, 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 click. And maybe not quite that fast, but you can shoot it, look, shoot it, look, shoot it, look.
Adjust.
Right. And you know, I can shoot. If I get this picture where I've got a coffin bone that looks like this, but I know from the front it was flat, I can readjust my height and I can get this closer to here. Because if this is the image I'm getting, it's real hard to say where do you measure for depth or this or whatever. But you need to get them as flat and matched up to each other. If I'm shooting below the shoe may look flat, but this may look this way. If I'm shooting too high up here, this may look flat, and then the shoe looks this way, or vice versa.
Now, how would you know if it's flat or if you're at an angle if the coffin bone itself is bad? You would again.
Well, that's why you shoot multiple angles.
Okay.
You shoot from front to back. You shoot from side to side. You can shoot obliques, which is like go to the 45. You can split your obliques, and each one will show you a little bit different picture. But just for the sake of diagnostics on a foot. Sole depth. You can see this area in here, how much cup do you have, and that's part of your measurement of sole depth. It's nice if you can get an idea on the sole depth.
Just keep the caps off, Mike.
Well, then I end up sniffing it. You can see how thick your sole corium is, because the sole corium is the blood supply to that's where you're growing your sole, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're just saying that.
I'm trying to agree with you. Everyone else in the audience is like, yes.
Yes. And then you've got your distance here and here. Now, from the coronary band to here. Okay. If I've got a horse that this is, say, 10 millimeters versus one that's 30 millimeters, and everything else looks aligned, what's going on here, what's happening to the alignment of my papilla feeding the coronary band. Okay, if this is dropping down, that's where you can see people think about like the laminator horse is purely rotation. Some of them don't necessarily rotate, but that everything comes straight down. Okay, if this distance gets too big, I'm looking at trouble. If these distances get too big, I'm looking at trouble. If I can define, the horn versus the lamina, and I've got that distorted hoof wall. Is it a distortion in the horn, which would be more white line, or is it in the lamina itself, which could be mechanical pressure / laminitis? When horses have inflamed lamina, this distance gets greater and it tends not to recover real easy. So if this distance is too big for the size horse you're dealing with and everything's lined up, there's a warning sign. And we haven't even talked about any kind of rotation. We haven't talked about sinking. But if this lamina area is larger than it should be, okay, and if I can't tell, there's a little marker, how much magnification we got, the size of the horse, say 15, 20 mils altogether should be a good range to look at on most riding horses. Some of your drafts are going to be a little bit different. And I come in and say, well, that everything looks good. Everything looks great. But then you put your markers in place and all of a sudden we've got 30 millimeters here. Or I've had a situation where just you get used to looking at these things where somebody said, oh, the depth on this horse looks good. Measurements weren't taken. I said, can we do measurements? I'd like to get 15 millimeters between here and the coffin bone, at least, if I can.
15 or 50? Because you got 50 written there.
Where?
Right.
Well, that's not supposed to be 50.
Okay. That's okay. I just said... Oh, is that an S?
It's supposed to be an S, sole depth.
Okay, sole depth. Gotcha.
And, if I've got 8 millimeters here and they thought it was 15 millimeters, and then you look at the wall looks like a good thickness. Or if you get the same X-ray and this is accurate distance, and then the wall's twice that wide, so you got 15 millimeters here, you got a 30 millimeter wall on your horn to lamina measurement. It's like, well, everything's lined up and everything's even and everything's straight, but that distance is straight out. You may be sitting on a time bomb. Even though you got the sole depth, to get that much distance in there, something's been stretched and moved. And when you get x-rays where you cannot see this is to be able to define what is lamina and what is horn is important, especially when you get into critical cases. So what is a good diagnostic x-ray and what is, well, artwork?
What is garbage?
What is garbage? I didn't say that. You said it.
I'm allowed to say it. I don't have any reputation to protect.
It's positive. You got to keep it positive. Now, have I worked off of x-rays where I could not tell that plenty of times? Some are better than others. The age of your unit makes a difference.
The person who's shooting it, their experience,
how it's setting up, your power quality in your barn.
You could have so if you had like low voltage,
that can affect your shots.
And plus, if you can have the best equipment in the world. If you got a brand new student out there who doesn't understand the concept, 100% solid, they could be shooting wrong. They could shoot right through and you'd miss the whole entire problem of the horse.
Well, it's like just the power grinder on the back of my truck. That unit I bought it in 1988 and she still goes. It's been in every shoe and rig I've had since 1988. Same one moved over. People said, why don't you buy a new one? It still goes. And it runs strong. But as it ages, I can tell more and more when people have a low power because does it start up slow?
The brushes.
And can I lean on it or not? It starts pulling down too quick.
Can it keep up with you?
Can it keep up with you? Yeah. So I can go in a barn and not take a voltmeter, and the way that thing fires off, it's like their voltage runs a little low here. It's getting a little slow. I got to let her wind up to speed and go light on her before I, because if you don't, you'll toast the motor.
All right, with all this information that we've learned and how to read an x-ray and what the do's and don'ts as far as an x-ray, we're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Little Bit and apply all this brand new knowledge that we learned to Little Bit's x-ray. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Concentrate on the show.
The real important
Stop
stuff.
screwing around with your crayons.
Does it make any sense?
What?
What I was trying to draw?
Mike, you lost. I mean, I understand what you're drawing and stuff. I don't have the knowledge and the background to apply that to what you're. So someone does. Someone else. Yeah, someone. I have no idea because I would be. I don't know. I just asked the technical questions for the basic person. Like, if for example, you got $100,000 machine, but if you got this kid, I could do it. Click, 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 and then everything's wrong. It doesn't matter how good the machine is.
Right.
If your operator sucks, then the operator sucks. That's the way I look at it. I rely on you to be the professional.
You're in trouble. You're in big trouble.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe over there. And if you'd like Mike Stine to perform a clinic out at your location, go over to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says clinics. He's got a bunch of stuff. He can bring all these artwork pictures that he drew out to you. He's also got a huge projection display set up that he can talk about all these different x-rays at your location. Just fill out that little form and he will schedule you and get you in as soon as he possibly can. And over to my far end side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Travis. How are you doing, buddy?
I told you I went riding with my wife, right?
Yes, you did. Okay. You went riding with your wife.
I did. I had a great time. But now we're going to talk about Little Bit. And Little Bit, we're going to take all this knowledge that we learned from Mike Stine's little seminar about how to read an x-ray over there, and we're going to apply this to Little Bit's x-ray.
Right, and there's some stuff that we can still go over that I didn't even cover on this.
Oh, okay, so we'll do that as well.
Right.
So let me switch to this camera here, and we can see pictures of Little Bit. So here is Little Bit. Tell us what we're looking at and why this became a topic on our show.
The Little Bit.
This is Little Bit.
This is Little Bit.
This is left front.
This is left front. Okay, at this point, Little Bit's not happy.
Why is Little Bit not happy? Now let me guess. I'm looking at this. Coffin bone looks okay. It's at a good angle. Mm-hmm. This the laminae?
It is.
And it looks almost parallel to the coffin bone.
Mm-hmm. Little opening up on the laminate on the bottom.
Yes, I see that now. A little open up at the bottom. That's all I got.
Okay. If you look at that joint and drop a line straight down.
This one right here?
Mm-hmm. Come back kind of middle of the joint.
Okay.
Kind of middle of the joint.
Right there?
Somewhere in there.
Uh-huh.
Now drop that straight down.
Okay, straight down. Right there. What am I looking at here?
See how far out that shoe's sitting out the front?
Yeah.
And see how little of it's out the back and see where his leg is?
So
hanging out the back door, right?
So it's the woman with the smaller flip-flop on.
Right. And they pulled a nice toe clip, and that took some talent and some skills and ability.
They were proud of that, probably, too.
Very proud of it, and should be. It was a nice-looking toe clip, right?
Unfortunately, half of the horse's foot is still hanging off the back.
Unfortunately, the horse's foot is hanging out the back, and if you look at your percentage between front and back, that shoe is way out the front. And if you look at the alignment of the coffin bone and the dorsal wall, that's mechanical force that is distorting that hoof out the front, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to the next one.
This is the left hind.
This is the left hind. We're talking about palmar angles. If you look at where that coronary band would be aiming, it's going to be aiming up at that horse's belly on that hind foot. The lower that coronary band aims, if you look at the coronary, step off the side of your horse and look towards the front, the lower it aims, the higher the PA. There is a direct relationship. Now, if you want accuracy, X-ray is going to probably be more accurate. There are horses that are a little distorted, and they don't always show you internally what's done externally. You can actually see some of the white line there, but you can see that bottom plane of the coffin bone is broken backwards. And that affects your flexor tendon attached to that, pulls over the back of the pastern, goes up to the flexor muscle above the hock. Well, if you're putting that much downforce there, you're driving your hock straight mechanically. Your hock and your stifle joint cannot flex independent of each other, correct? From what's going on, we're working with your wife's horse, wanting to get more flexion, so you got to get room for it to flex. So that was what I was given from the vet. Next. Okay. This would be the right front. Similar situation. Good strong clinches. If you look at where the shoe's foot setting, it is set out the front. And this horse is, if I'm remembering right, had been suffering from some navicular type pain. So that shoe sitting way out the front is a big lever arm working against that flexor tendon. Flexor tendon goes around your navicular bursa, adds pressure. So just by shortening that lever arm against that flexor tendon, without even changing angles, just kicking the brake over up under them, you change pressure on that flexor tendon.
Mike, you ever gone swimming before?
Yes.
You ever wore flippers before? Like swimming flippers?
The dolphin.
No, like the swimming
flippers, yes.
You ever walked on dry land with flippers on? You got to flip and fly. Is that kind of like when
That's kind of what's going on there. That's a good description. Thank you.
Sorry, that's the only way. I was trying to think in my brain. What would it be like for me to wear something where the shoe is hanging way off outside of my foot?
Well, it'd be trying to like walk with flippers. Yeah. Exactly.
So there you go.
And there's no, the support. Look at the bulb of the heels and where your heels are. And are we supporting your tendons? Are we supporting your bone column enough or not? So then you got recoil when the horse hits because it's not being held up. It collapses down. Okay.
This is right hind.
Right hind.
Of a little bit.
Okay. Pretty flat plane. There again, the coronary band is going to be aiming up high. There is some break over that shoe for no other reason for you to wear. And so it's not all the way out the front edge of the steel. When it was brand new, put on, it probably was, because from pulling it off, it didn't look like it had been forged in, and so just the shoe wear helps the situation some mechanically. Good.
It's the last one.
It is?
Yep, that was it.
Okay. So, I did go work on a little bit. I do not have any pictures of it. And I did something pretty heavily modified all the way around, and we worked with mechanically getting a situation where those angles can come up, and the lever arm from the center of the foot forward is shortened and supported the bone column, and the horse said, "Woohoo! I'm pretty happy."
I'm not walking around like this.
Right. But so many times we'll get a horse and people say, "Well, the toes are pretty the way they're finished," and you got toes that are run forward, and that alignment of the bone column centered up under the bone column is not necessarily there, and you can spit shine the outside and put polish on it and everything else, and they're but what you really need to be looking at is where that load is placed around the bone column. And without that, tendons and ligaments are going to scream, causes bad pressure. You can sand that thing, you can polish it, you can do everything else. And that's another place where x-rays are good, because some of this, there are plenty of horses out there. If you look at the external, somebody's dressed down the front of the hoof hard, makes the internal angle look higher than what it actually is, because we were talking about that earlier. You dressed up, polished up, well, that's a good shoe job, everything looks good, until you take a picture of it. And you're like,
whoopsie,
maybe not. And the horse has been trying to tell you something all along. We're just too hard-headed to listen to them. So that's kind of where we are today.
All right, guys, stick around. One more little segment. We'll let you get back to enjoying your ponies. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. All right, you ready?
Yep.
What did we learn?
Don't eat my hot sauce.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. If you have a question for Mike Stine, the way you do that is go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contact us. Make sure you fill that form out, ask your question. Make sure you put a return address. We'll send you out a prize pack as well. And if you want to watch all the different aspects of the show, the video portion of the podcast, we have a lot of visuals during this, a lot of the x-rays, and a lot of the drawings and stuff that Mike has done. Make sure you go over to YouTube as well, like and subscribe over there. And over to my far hand side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And if you'd like us to perform podcasts out at your location, you can go to equinedynamics.com at the top of the page. Fill that out as well, and we'll come out there and do exactly what we do here in the studio out at your location as well.
If you'd like for me to make you some hot sauce, I can do that too.
We'll add some vinegar to this one, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right, Mike, what did we learn today? X-rays of Mr. Freeze.
Well, you kind of need to know what's going on in there before you go diving in the middle of it, because x-rays are going to show you stuff that you did not know otherwise if they were well shot.
And the best way to shoot x-rays, and what are you looking for in the angles, and do you like the analog or the brand new digitals that are coming out right now?
Those new digitals are awful nice. Somebody that's good with analog can make you some great pictures. And excuse me.
No, you're good.
But the thing with digitals, people build differently. Are you building by the shot? Or are you building by the job? With the analogs, you kind of got to do it by the shot. With digitals, you can shoot 50 shots out there in an hour if you need to.
And also, after learning all this, what did we learn with Little Bit, looking at Little Bit's x-rays?
Well, it showed us some of why Little Bit was fighting mechanical pressure, and gave us an idea of where we needed to go to help relieve some of the mechanical pressure that Little Bit was dealing with. And
you went in there, and Mike saved the day.
I tried to set up a situation where a Little Bit could be happy, or a Little Bit could take care of Little Bit's self.
Well, there you go. All right, guys, on that note, make sure you follow Mike Stine over on Facebook. He's got a brand new page over there. It's got the Equine Dynamics logo on it, so you know you're on the right page and not those imitations that are out there. Make sure you like and subscribe to him over there. Mike, you've been posting a bunch of different articles. You've been doing your thing again over there. I am excited to read all the different things that you post over there. It's a really good, interesting thing. He doesn't bombard you with a bunch of nonsense and stuff. So make sure you like him over on Facebook as well, and your numbers are growing over there as well. All right, guys, on that note, on behalf of Mike Stine over there,
have a good day. Enjoy your horses, and I will slow on that one, right?
Yes. My name is Travis, saying see you next week.
Yep. Have a good one. Thank you.
Dream of someone.
There you go. You made it, Mike.
Yeah.
Good night now.
Hi, Dusty. Good night, Ned.
You made it.
Ned?
Yeah, I was thinking about the vinegar, but I don't think I could find any in the house.
Yeah, white vinegar, white distilled vinegar would be the best.
Well, see, there's a problem.